Hello friends. So welcome back to my channel, that is Beauty of Language and Literature. But before we go ahead, do not forget to like, subscribe and comment because your feedback would be of great use to me in making my videos better. So in our last video we studied about Act 1 Scene 1. Now I would ask you a few quick questions. If you are able to answer all of them, then ta-da, you have understood the part very well. So the first question is, what reason does Antonio give for he being sad in the opening scene of the play? Second, what reasons does Salarino and Salanio suggest for Antonio being sad? And third, what aspect of Graciano does Bassanio make fun of when Graciano has left? Now, let's move on to the explanation of Act 1, Scene 2. The scene shifts to Belmont, where Portia and Nerissa are on the stage. Yes, Portia, the same rich, beautiful lady about whom Antonio and Bassanio were talking in the first scene. And Nerissa is the lady in waiting and confidant of Portia. Portia sighs and says that she is tired of this big world. Nerissa then tries to soothe Portia and says that the best way to be happy is to be in between. Because according to her, people who have too much wealth suffer as much as people who have nothing. Portia agrees to Nerissa, but Nerissa says that it would be better if she would implement it in her own life. On this, Portia says that if doing good deeds were as easy as knowing how to do them, then everyone would be better off. Small chapels would have been big churches, poor villages would have been princess palaces. It takes a good priest to preach what he actually practices. Giving her example, she says that it is easier to preach 20 people than to be the one among those 20 to follow it. She further gives some comparisons and says that young people are like young frisky rabbits and good advice are like old men who try to catch them. Then she comes to the point when she says that thinking like this won't help her in choosing the husband she likes. The word choose here frustrates her because she is still controlled by the will of her dead father. She can't choose the one she likes and she can't reject the one she dislikes. On listening to the pain of Portia, Nerissa says that her father was a man of extremely good moral and such people get odd ideas on their deathbed. Now, in the conversation between Portia and Nerissa, will come to know that what was the condition put forward by Portia's father in getting her married. So she says that her father's idea was to have a game with 3 boxes. The suitor who will be able to figure out whether to choose gold, silver or lead basket will be solving her father's riddle, and that suitor will be the man for her. Now, on this, Nerissa asks Portia whether is there any suitor whom she likes. On hearing this, Portia says that you name the suitor, and according to the description that I'll give about them, you guess my feelings towards them. Here we will see a long elaborate conversation between Nerissa and Portia about the suitors that had come from all over the world. So, the first one of them was the Prince of Naples. About him, she says that he is a stallion and all he talks about is his horse. He finds a credit to his character because he is able to shoe a horse all by himself. Making fun of him, she says that his mother may have had an affair with the blacksmith. Now, the second one comes the Count Palatine. About him, she says that he frowns a lot. The man doesn't even smile when he hears funny stories. Making fun of him, she says that if he is so sad and solemn now, then she can only imagine that how much he will cry when he'll grow old. Portia says that it's better to marry a skull with a bone in its mouth than to marry either of these men. Moving ahead, Nerissa asks about the French lord, Monsieur Lebon. About him, Portia says that they might call him a man because God created him. And she says that his horse was better than that of the Neapolitans, and he frowned even more than the Count Palatine. About him, she says that he wanted to outdo everyone so much that it was very difficult to understand who he actually was. He started dancing every time he heard a bird sing, and he was so excited to show off his fighting skills that he could fight even with his shadow. She says about him that marrying him would be like marrying 20 husbands, because he was like 20 men all rolled up into one. Then Nerissa asks about the English Baron Falconbridge. About him, Portia says that it was difficult to talk to him because of the language barrier. Then she says that how can one have a conversation with someone who doesn't understand your language? On commenting on his dressing sense, she says that it seems that he got his jacket from Italy, ties in France, and hat from Germany, and behavior everywhere. Then Nerissa asks about the Scottish lord. About the Scottish lord, Portia says that she found him too much forgiving, because he had let the Englishman slap him hard into his ear, and he didn't even defend himself back. And on the other hand, the Frenchman also slapped him on the other ear, promising him that he would help him in paying the Englishman back. Nerissa then asks Portia about the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew. Feeling disgusted about him, Portia says that he is pretty awful in the morning and even worse in the evening when he is drunk. Making further comparison, she says that at his best he is little less than a man, and at his worst he is little more than an animal. And if she got to marry him and he tragically met his demise, then she is sure that she could find a way to move on without him. Now, at this point, Nerissa says Portia not to worry about these lords, because these lords are not much interested in her, as they are planning to go back to the place from where they had come. Portia here sits hopelessly, thinking that she would die an old maid, unless anyone could win her according to the rules set by her dead father. She feels glad that the suitors are sensible enough to stay away, and the only thing she likes about them is that they are not there anymore. On this point, Nerissa asks Portia that, hey, do you remember the Venetian scholar who was accompanied by a soldier and Marquis of Montferrat, who had come to visit your father when he was still alive? Portia then recalls his name. Oh yes, his name was Bassanio. Nerissa then says that yes, madam, he is the one who deserves a beautiful wife more than any other man. Portia agrees with her. At this point, a servant enters the scene with a message for Portia that 4 suitors are waiting for her to bid her goodbye, and the 5th suitor, representing the Prince of Morocco, would be there that night. Taking a deep breath, Portia says that it would be better that the 5th suitor would hear her conversation than marry her. She tells the servant to go ahead, and with Nerissa, she exits the stage. So, at this point, this is the point where Act 1, Scene 2 ends. So, children, here we came to know about the conversation between Portia and Nerissa and all the rest of the suitors. So, do not forget to like, subscribe and comment. Stay tuned for the next episode on the beauty of language and literature. Thank you.